Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Show to View with Mike G, the show of life, the show of Tequila Ocho, the show of being down at a speakeasy in Austin, Texas. It was a very good night. You know, I had interviewed Tomas Estes a few times, and I'd consider him such a rich human being, so many amazing stories. So it was just a matter of time until I interviewed his great son, Jesse Estes from Tequila Ocho. So we're downstairs at Kinfolk, cocktail lounge here in Austin, Texas, sitting at a table drinking the Puntas, which is an amazing bottling, and the Widow Jane bottling that just came out. You can hear us kind of allude to it here. He wouldn't tell me what it was, which is totally fine, but now that's out, and so this was a little while ago. So I hope you get to learn a little bit more about Jesse. So without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this great chat with Jesse Estes of Tequila Ocho. Paraguay or Uruguay? Also.
Oh yeah, actually I don't know where you found that, but yeah, I lived in Uruguay for a year. Yeah.
What was that? I'm imagining a backpacking dude, a very Renaissance man. Like, what took you to Paraguay or Uruguay?
Uruguay. Yeah.
Yeah. What took you to study there?
Uruguay was the only study abroad option that I had in South America. So I actually probably would have chose Buenos Aires, although I'm glad I didn't.
The women are pretty good looking in Buenos Aires, if I recall.
Well, it was always had this romanticism to me. I'd never been to South America. Yeah. Obviously, I've been to Mexico, but yeah. So I got to go to a really cool business school in Uruguay for a year as part of my business school program in London.
Oh, okay. So it was a combination of studying in London and all of that.
Exactly.
So. Yeah. It's hard for me to centralize the story in a sense, right? Because there's all these places I could place you. I think that the most of the chapters of your life occurred in London. That's my understanding, right? But where did you actually grow up? No one, I don't think anybody knows this about you, Jesse. Where the hell are you kicking dirt and all that?
I was kicking dirt almost literally in the suburbs of Paris, in Paris, and just outside of Paris. Yeah.
Did that have in part something to do with the restaurateur nature of your father, or was it completely separate than that?
Yeah, so my dad lived in Europe probably almost 30 years, or about 30 years.
Yeah.
So during that time, he lived in France about 16 years, so that's when I was born.
Really? And
just grew up there, yeah.
Did you have wanderlust too? You know what I mean by that term?
I did, man. I think that was really genetic, or at least by osmosis from my dad, yeah.
That's the thing, and one of the things that I think that I know you have, is an undying curiosity for the world. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I get to satiate that very, very fortunately. I'm very fortunate to get to travel a lot. So,
being in Paris, you an art guy or a film guy?
Oh, film.
Yeah,
film.
Ever consider moving in that direction? Because it sounds like you're studying business and.
I'll tell you what, my three brothers are all three creative types in different ways, musician, tattoo artist, and all kinds of different media. And my older brother actually did work in film.
Did he really?
Yeah. But I'm my side of the brain that works is the opposite side. Not to say I'm not creative, but I'm just good with numbers, and I can kind of figure that stuff out.
Operations guy.
Yeah.
I've met a lot of, over the years I've been interviewing people, and I remember, Teeling whiskey?
Yeah, of course, man.
So I interviewed Jack some years ago, right? And his father is it's just a massive presence in Irish whiskey and revitalizing Cooley Distillery and all this stuff. But I asked him, I said, did you feel obligated to get into the family business? Because Ocho started in what, 2007?
Yeah, our first production was 2007, and then we launched officially 2008. Yeah.
Was it, because you got brothers, right?
Yeah.
Creative brothers, like, did you feel that you had to do it? That you had to work in Agave?
No, that's a great question. I started off in hospitality, so I kind of was very fortunate to be taken under the wing of Dre Masso and Henry Bezin, the late Henry Bezin, unfortunately. So, they kind of opened my eyes to this whole world of the London cocktail scene in the late 2000s. And yeah, man, I was just so in love with the bar industry that's kind of what I followed. And at a certain point, I was working for, I think it was Marriott Group, and kind of not enjoying it as much, the more corporate side of hospitality. And, my dad and I started talking. He said, I think this might be a good time for you to join the family business if you want. And I said, I'm in. Like, that sounds great. So
it was the right place, right time. You never felt like you had to carry the torch.
No, not at all. It just happened organically. And I'm really, pleased, extremely pleased with the way things worked out.
I mean, it's not a bad brand. You have some amazing players,
brand.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that one of the things that business folks, because I'm kind of both, right? Like, I love to create music and I always think about that stuff, right? Is there something that being in service and being in hospitality that can give you that no business, no spreadsheet could give you?
Oh, absolutely. And I loved that part. And until recently, and even now, I still, I love creating cocktails, and I've written 2 cocktail books.
2 or 3 books, right?
Yeah. I'd love to write a 3rd one. I haven't found the time recently, but I'd love to do 3. I like the idea of a trilogy.
Of more books?
Yeah. More books.
You like people.
Of course, man. I think in our industry, at least to some extent, we have to. Man. Yeah. I don't meet many misanthropes in hospitality or drinks.
Point.
Yeah.
I do. It's something though that I find kind of interesting too about working in service is, and there's reasons I'm better at this or not, but I'm very good at compartmentalizing. I compartmentalize.
Right.
Stuff.
Okay.
But that's how I deal with all the different things, right?
Yeah.
Is the face you put on in service different than the guy that goes home at night and unwinds?
Yeah, so you call it compartmentalizing,
but it could just be a whatever.
I used to call it a persona. There's a persona you put on just to be able to deal with difficult people, or we all know the kind of challenges of that role. But I think that makes complete sense.
Do you think that you're ever at risk of being too open with the guests, too transparent, or you're fine with them coming into your life? Because that's what it is, right? They come there and they're like, but you seem to hold it together so well, and you're like, well, actually, is there boundaries there that you have to kind of put in place?
I think it changed over time. I think at the beginning there certainly were, and then it changes. I think as you become more comfortable or I became more comfortable in myself,
right?
It changes, and I think it is easier to just not need those boundaries.
Be the place, because, and this is separate. We're both getting. It's fair to say that everybody in this room right now is getting older, right? by the minute. And you came in, hit the ground running when you head into Texas. You did some stuff. Like, you're all over the place, right? Do you feel it more now? Because it seems like your profile has increased because you're now global for Ocho after your father passed, and you're traveling more. I'm seeing you're doing more and more tastings. Are you feeling the toll it's taken on your body yet?
Yes, I'm really feeling it, and there's things that I've had to do to mitigate that. So,
what are some things you do to mitigate?
For one, I drink a lot less.
Yeah.
And
How dare you?
Yeah, I drink well, and I as much as I love cocktails, those levels of sugar, man, that's what's killing me even more than 7 tastings a day.
Yeah.
4 days, this week as well, in 4 cities.
Would you agree? This is my mantra as I get older.
Yeah.
I'll drink any spirit and eat all night.
Yeah.
And it's fine, right?
Yeah.
The tequila with mezcal, all of that.
Yeah.
I love that. There's a thing I've worked when I've interviewed people from Diageo, right? There was actually. Oh, I want to tell you this. Is it Piedra Almas de mezcal?
Yeah.
So Jonathan, I think.
I've never met Jonathan Barbieri, but I've heard of him.
They wouldn't let me interview him.
Diageo wouldn't.
Wow. And they said he's not media ready. Okay. And if you have drinks with this dude, maybe you can understand why. For their portfolio. But your image is communicated crisply, cleanly. Like, I don't know who's doing your PR or whatnot. You're an author. You're doing this stuff.
No PR.
Yeah. It's not. Like, is that cleanliness and the tightness of the brand of you, is that intentional?
No, not at all.
Oh, it is not?
No. We've never, well, we've had 1 or 2 PR companies for Ocho.
Yeah.
I've never worked with a PR company for my personal brand.
Yeah. No. They're doing a good job, which I guess commending you in doing this, right? Because it's all very, very crisp, and I like that, because some people, you're media ready. Is that good? That's not an insult, is it?
I mean, I don't know whether I'm ready or not, but I'm here. Soto in hand.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's a great thing to be able to share with you. It's okay if we talk about your dad?
Sure.
I think we all have a story about him, you know? And he was articulate. You're articulate. He loved people. And that's why I asked you about the service bit, right? Because you love people. You kind of have to, right? Was there... And this is, you don't have to reveal too much. But he was that man with you sitting in the living room on the couch, or is there a slight different disparity there to what he gave others versus what he gave you?
Yeah, I think, well, this kind of brings us back to an earlier topic of conversation, which was, compartmentalizing what you called and what I would call having a persona, maybe, or multiple personae. And I don't think my dad had that. At least in the years that I can remember him, he was just this kind of open being with pretty much everyone for the most part that he came across. Yeah. And I think that was and is so unusual. At least in my experience, it's very unusual to meet someone like that. Yeah. So I think people noticed that. It
is refreshing when someone is willing to be, and this is the word I'd use to describe him, vulnerable.
Yeah. Great words.
He was not afraid of showing love. And actually, I learned a lot about love and being able to appreciate and bring in love from him, because that's the kind of thing that he exuded. And is there any feeling that you have to emulate that style now that you've presumed such a big role? Because he's such a massive figure, and you have what is ultimately the biggest platform to be a massive figure too.
No, if maybe that's crossed my mind, I gave it up pretty quickly, because I as much as I wish I were like that, and maybe down the line that's something I'll grow into more. Yeah. But I'm not going to try and fit myself into something I'm not necessarily.
Which is great.
I'm just I am who I am, and that's what I bring to the table, basically.
And so then this will be a cheeky question, but you love the ladies too?
I love a lady, yeah.
Because I always get that through all the drugs that your father talked about, all the shows, and like seeing Frank Zappa and stuff, it was very clear he loved the ladies.
I think my dad loved everyone. I don't think it was necessarily even sexual love. I think it could be, but it wasn't. It was just like you said. It was just love. This kind of pure energy that we can call love, and he was receptive to it, and he gave it freely to anyone. Again, women, men.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, I'm not trying to put a gender to it, but he was a romantic dude, I think.
I would say so. Yeah, in some ways, yeah.
Do you find yourself being drawn to, we talk about film, and he was teaching English. Do you have the same proclivity? Like, obviously you like to travel. We talked about this. But are you inspired by art? Is it something that refills you, that you seek out to maybe get a refreshed perspective on things?
Honestly, probably not. No. I'm not much of a museum goer, and I can appreciate different forms of art, music and things like that. But no, I don't kind of seek out art, and it's not something that that kind of fills something in my life for me.
What refreshes you? What inspires you? Because you're on the road, never to say it's rote, right? But you get a different crowd every night. You got to play the hits. You know what I mean? These Ocho hits. I think there's going to be some great stuff here tonight at Kinfolk that we're trying. But like, how do you get perspective? Do you go into the mountains? Do you hike?
Yeah, like getting away from it all, and nature is a big one. So I live in London, which is a busy city, and I live in a busy part of a busy city.
So many great forests in London, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Just 5 minutes walk from my place is a huge forest. Actually, I used to live near the Heath, which is an enormous forest. Yeah. But yeah, no, I live very much in the city now. So yeah, man, to get out, and I'll be with family on the West Coast in the mountains, and
Up in Portland?
Next
or,
week.
Oregon?
Yeah, in Oregon. So, yeah, to me, that's like, I usually deactivate social media and just phone is off most of the time. And
there was a moment, because I want to try to draw the similarity. There was a moment I had when I was last in Oaxaca. Same, right? I went out there to learn as much as I could. I was out there a month. Just be, exist, right? And I was sitting in front of the agave. I was out in Santiago de Matatán. And I heard them. I felt them.
The agaves.
Just like you do with the trees. Like, is that something when you can block out all the other noise? You're sitting there amongst this beautiful smelling coniferous forest. Do you feel connected to it?
Yeah, at times, yeah. I mean, if, it's not, I can't just walk out in nature and all of a sudden I'm there and fully present and in tune, which I think is kind of what you're describing.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it does happen, and it's a great feeling, and I think that's more probably how we are naturally as human beings or as beings, to be in tune with nature rather than the way certainly I live and many of us live our day-to-day lives.
Do you find it to be one of the things that's so special about agave? Tequila or mezcal or bacanora?
Well, yeah, one of the many things I would say that's special and unique, and obviously you have lots of experience in this arena
we both
too.
do. Yeah, I mean, it's a big category, and it's one of the few that brings us together. Because I can't say bourbon brings us together, even if I enjoy drinking it, And much of your specialty, I think the first maybe super foray into agave was you curated all of this stuff, which was El Nivel was the upstairs bar to La Perla?
That's right, yeah, in London. Yeah.
Well, how did that feel to finally come into your own and expect to be kind of like an art director with the bottles and the agave?
I didn't give it that much thought at the time. And it's, this is, I'm very fortunate that this is a world that I feel like I grew up in, the tequila, mezcal, agave world. And yeah, to just, source really cool stuff and be kind of the first bar to showcase lesser known agave spirits.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Bacanora, Raicilla, Soto, if we can call that an agave spirit, which I do.
Same.
And yeah, so we were the first quote unquote agaveria.
Yeah, which is massive in a place like London. Well, so we're here because you're finally traveling. How long? I know you were been repping Ocho for a long time. I think it was mostly in Europe, wasn't it? Previously, or were you doing global the whole time?
I would say let's call it international, so outside of North America.
Okay,
not Mexico, not US, but the rest of the world.
And that's expanded now, though, yeah.
So now I'm fully global,
right?
Yeah, and really enjoying. It's my first time in Austin, so I'm really
crazy
enjoying.
To me, yeah,
it is crazy to me too. Yeah.
What's the plan look like? I know you've got a private tasting here this evening. What else you got in store for Austin? Oh, and you're going to Las Almas Rotas tomorrow.
In Dallas, yeah.
In Dallas,
so tonight, I think we have Las Perlas, and then early start to Dallas, full day.
Yeah.
I wish I could spend 2 weeks in each of those places. I get about 20 hours in each, so
that's a lot.
You're
gonna feel that,
Yeah, like I said, luckily next week I'm on holiday, but yeah, again, I'm used to it.
I want to talk about the newly released Puntas.
Yeah, man.
Once I saw it coming out, I think you posted it. I think you were the one. I'm like, oh shit, it's gonna be a thing.
Yeah.
Because I liked a lot of the transcontinental, that partnership with Pierre Ferrand. One of them was, I think, amazing. And whatever the middle one, which was a mix of both. I think that was the
transatlantic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So that one to me, it was really a fascinating spirit, and it was one that I kept the bottle because
Oh, good. Yeah.
But the Puntas, what's the thinking here? Because I love it, and I think to be able to experience agave in that way, Carlos, I know he made a 110 Tapatio previously, but try to find that shit now, right? But what's the thinking? Do you want consumers to experience something else? Is it about the raw material? What's kind of the strategy with releasing that?
Man, I think this is something that we did for years for fun, because we borrowed from mezcal culture, and tequila was Carlos's great grandfather was producing vino de mezcal, and eventually the name changed.
Yeah.
But so we share this kind of culture with mezcal and raicilla, for example, in Jalisco, and of course they take that cut, the puntas, and save it for their guests or for village parties, weddings and things. So we would save some of our puntas for visitors to La Alteña, and the cuts were anywhere between 63 up to kind of 75% ABV.
Nice, yeah.
So yeah, heaps of alcohol, but also lots of flavor being carried by that alcohol. So we always had the kind of fantasy of bottling that at some point. Of course, as you know, legally we can't bottle tequila over 55%. Like Tapatio 110 is just at the limit. So we ended up taking that cut of every run of distillation of La Ladera 2021, collected that all. That came off about 64%, 128 proof. Again, not only could we not bottle that as tequila, but also I love having a few sips of that, but I wouldn't necessarily have 2-3 ounces. It's just a little bit
too exhausting.
A little bit hot for me. So we tasted it at several different ABVs or proofs, and the one we all loved the best was 50.5, 101.
Yeah.
So to me, it just drinks really, really well. Again, heaps of flavor. We're going to taste it later tonight,
nice.
Just to tease your listeners a bit here.
Yeah. Well, if y'all know me, the bottle's finished now, so I gotta go. I gotta find another one. But it's really, really beautiful thing.
Thank you.
What I am very excited by is what it seems to be, at least annually, that y'all are going to do more bold things that are more creative. Is that the plan? It seems like these projects are coming about.
Yeah, so we aim to do at least one release a year. That's something new, different. Again, with Tequila Ocho, since its inception, we've never wanted to just follow the market, follow what others are doing.
Yeah.
We've always wanted to do something different. So back in 2017, we did the first ever cask finish and rum casks. Plantation Barbados, Plantation Jamaica. Then, of course, the ones you've tried, the Tropical and the Transatlantic, are the first ever full aging, to my knowledge, that a tequila is done with rum barrels. So yeah, for me, it's always just finding ways to push the boundaries a bit, and we've got lots of ideas.
Do you have anything in your mind like, dude, I really wish we would do that, but you're not, because I don't want you to spoil the surprise, but just something that you probably will never do that you might want to do
in terms of just like an experimental batch?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's definitely a few of those. There's more than one of those, so we'll see if also there are experiments that we do that don't make it because to us the goal is always to have agave front and center in all of our tequilas. So if we produce something that is a really cool idea, but it lacks that agave element for some reason, it's not going to make it to anyone else.
Yeah,
because that's kind of against our philosophy.
How big was that batch of puntas? It couldn't have been very big, right?
The total amount was 806 bottle cases.
That's not that.
So much. 600 went to the U.S. and then 200 to the rest of the world. So you guys got the lion's share.
Well, we demonstrate, Jesse, that we drink a shit ton more than
anybody.
I know, man. Don't tell the Brits that. They drink more pints, but we drink more agave. This is very true.
Yeah, it's growing there, but yeah, they need to get on that and keep drinking 100% high quality tequila.
How often are you going down to La Alteña now?
Well, obviously, for the last 2 years it was more complicated, but I was just there a couple months ago, and I'll be there in a few months. So I was gonna try and get out there 3 times this year, but it probably will end up being 2. But yeah, I try and get there at least 3 times.
Yeah, and Carlos still has the deer.
He's still got the pet deer. Yeah, man.
Yeah. I love deers, man. And Carlos is it's fun. It would have been the best buddy cop movie had Tomas, your dad and Carlos Bennett, because they're just so different, and it's this beautiful kind of dynamic between the two of them. Well, things are, in terms of agave, like every year, more and more mezcal brands, more and more tequila brands, and it's very evident to me the lineage of the ownership and the lineage of the process, and Carlos, like why Ocho is spectacular stuff.
Yeah.
But for you, if no one knew anything about you, knew nothing of your father, what's the thing that sums up what Ocho is for folks that just simply don't know?
So yeah, I'll try and keep it concise because it's easy. Like
it was kind of admittedly like underhand, because I just want to hear how you pitch Ocho, because everybody talks about tequila. I'm
gonna be talking about it for about 2 hours, and
there's that too,
very very shortly. So you get the long pitch then, but I'll keep it short for the listeners. No, No, to me, there's three things that make Ocho really unique and different. For one, again, it was created by my father and Carlos, who are both really unique individuals in the world of tequila. So Carlos being a fifth-generation master distiller, with really deep roots and heritage in tequila production and agave growing. And my father, among other things, being the official tequila ambassador from Mexico to the European Union, and having worked with tequila globally and especially in Europe for almost 50 years. Mm-hmm. So I think the two of them together, getting together to create the most agave-forward tequila, that's really the number one goal with Ocho. So if I only got to say one of those three,
that's pretty good.
That would be the one.
I didn't know about the ambassador thing to the EU.
Oh, you didn't know that?
I didn't know that.
Because if you talk to my dad, he was so humble. He would never say something about that about himself. Yeah.
And for me to talk to him was about but like I always talk about music like every time, and so I was like, what was the best show you went to?
I remember that. Yeah,
that was a really cool answer. Because he's Frank Zappa in Amsterdam. I don't think he told me the year, but like it's just one of those things that to me. Art, spirits are art, Ocho's art, but I want to know what it impacts people and what moves them. Hence why I'm asking all these questions about art and nature and all of that. But I do wonder for you, it's been pretty easy to see how your career has built and moved in the kind of trajectory that it's had. Lots of great press, as I kind of mentioned previously. Is there an ultimate goal to this for you? Do you imagine yourself being in Hacienda retired and you're 70? What do you think this all adds up to for you?
That's a great question, man. And honestly, I haven't thought that far ahead, 40 years or so. Yeah. But I don't have that long-term of a plan. But no, I love working with, Ocho in this case and agave spirits in general. Mm-hmm. And yeah, man, I'm not, especially after the last 2 years with the pandemic. Yeah. I stopped making so many plans so far in advance, and I'm trying and largely succeeding and just being a bit more present here. Yeah, we have no idea what's coming tomorrow or next week or next month, so
it's a great point. Was there any being present? This is actually a very, very key thing for me as of late in the past couple of years. What do you do? Because we both know, however many drinks it is for us with our respective tolerances. There's a number that's still pretty good. Uh-huh. We're still here. We're feeling them over, right? Like, but then there's that number where like I'm still here, but I'm not really present. What kind of do you do any work particularly to try to make sure you stay present?
Absolutely. I mean, I had dipped my toe into meditation in the past. I started meditating a bit more seriously towards the end of last year, and I mean, I don't want to sound kind of cliche or something, but it really changed my life, for obviously for the better. Mm-hmm. So, I just feel much calmer, more centered, more kind of equanimous, and
I love that. Even when you're traveling, you're able to practice.
I practice anywhere. Yeah,
oh, of course. If
I've got a 5-minute cab ride, meditate there. It's just, I think that's kind of the beauty of meditation or mindfulness. People can call it whatever they want. I mean, to me, it's just getting out of my head and into my body and my breath and coming out of narrative. We're constantly telling ourselves these stories that are not helpful most of the time. No. So yeah.
Did you find that I don't meditate, but I sink into art? I'll play I got a grand piano at the house. I'll just play, and then you can't help but you can't get out of the way of the sound. It's quite immersive in that way. Yeah. But what I found that it did is it made me understand who I was more. Yeah. Has that done that for you too?
Sure, of course, man. And I think I've heard what you're describing called flow by certain people. You get so involved in what you're doing that you lose yourself in a really nice way. Yeah.
And it's that narrative. You're right. It always. I mean, drink coffee. Yeah. Do you drink coffee?
I don't. No, I don't. I mean, every once in a while I have tea or something, but I really don't do caffeine actually.
Well, that doesn't help anything. Ultimately, whatever the narrative is that's rambling on in our minds, like, oh, I should have done this or not this. Caffeine just obviously inflates it. It makes it so much worse. So it's actually kind of nice to hear you say that. All right. Now, this I don't know about you. I wasn't able to find this, and I've never asked your dad. You have kids?
No kids.
Do you want to have kids?
I don't know yet, man. Luckily, my girlfriend is quite a bit younger than me, so we have time to think about that and figure that out.
When you think of the word legacy, because I believe your father, you know, in a way, it wasn't a physical torch, but there's some torch, I think, that was passed down. Do you ever, now, mind you, that might take you out of the moment that we're trying to be in this present, but do you ever think about what you're doing, like what your legacy may be? Is it ever your impact on the world? How about that? Yeah.
I think, you know, it's something I do think about, and I guess that kind of ties in with your question about what do I see myself doing in 30, 40, 50 years. Honestly, again, this sounds so cheesy and cliche, but I think being a good person and putting out good things in the world and doing more good in the world than harm is really underrated, man.
It's super powerful.
As opposed to like creating a monument or having a statue in terms of legacy. I just think, you know, we should focus a little bit on doing good things for other people near us. And
absolutely. Yeah. In that vein.
Yeah.
I really do, and let me sound cliched for a second. I do believe in the balance of the universe.
Yeah.
Do you feel that putting goodness out there, being kind, being inquisitive, that living that kind of life, it got really dark in here. For those who can't tell, right? That it yields dividends in some extent.
I think
no
it's
expectation, mind you. Just saying.
I wouldn't even call it dividends. I think it's just, to me, it's immediate, because when you're in that frame of mind of being, I don't want to use the word benevolent, but just putting out good in the world, you're putting out good to yourself in that very moment.
Yeah.
So to me, it's instantaneous. It's not a dividend I'm going to reap a year from now.
Well, there's no motive in it.
Yeah.
It's selfless.
Yeah.
And that was another thing. The love that your father gave was selfless.
Yeah.
Right? Well, this place just got a whole lot sexier, Jesse, and the lights are down.
I know.
And we got a tasting here in about 7 minutes. So I've got one last question for you. And I ask everybody this question, and your dad can't be the answer to this one, Mike.
Okay. Oh, okay. I think I remember the question. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
And you know what? If I'm known for a thing, that's fine. I'm okay with it. I was in Marfa some weeks ago. Someone recognized my voice, and I'm like, "From what?" It's like the podcast. I'm like, "Oh, right, the voice." Yeah. Anyway, so I got this fucking question I ask everybody, but I want to take it to film. Okay, so. We'll just say right here, we're at Kinfolk, right? You can drink some of the Tequila Ocho Puntas, right?
Yeah.
And you can have a conversation here, drinking that mark, with any actor, living or deceased. Who would you love to just, at this bar right here, pony up and have a conversation with?
It has to be an actor or actress.
It could be anybody. It could be a gaffer. If you really have a favorite gaffer, that's fine.
I think I would love to get to hang out with Quentin Tarantino.
Oh man!
So actually, technically, he is an actor because he does, but obviously much more of a director.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that would be cool.
Man, would you geek out over film with him?
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so.
I'm talking about a guy who was kind. There's been some things said about him, but Robert Forster, right? Who got, I think, an Oscar nomination after being completely castigated from Hollywood in Jackie Brown, the Bondsman. Robert Forster.
Okay, yeah.
Quentin, in his kindness, Robert Forster said to him, I just heard the story the other day, and then we'll wrap. And he said, Quentin, no one's going to hire me. I mean, has been. He was an actor in the 70s and the 80s, been in lowbrow and stuff. And Quentin said, they'll hire whoever I say they hire. Because he believed in him so much. You know?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's this kindness, and I think that Tarantino has that. But Jesse, it's been years in the making, man.
It's great to finally meet you,
Finally
brother.
we get to do this thing, and we're gonna drink some tequila. It's the beginning of a night. That's all I'm gonna say. This is the beginning of a night.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me. Yeah. Talk soon, yeah?
Thank you, brother.
Cheers. Well, there we have it. Jesse Estes of Tequila Ocho. Been years. You know, we have many similar friends. We've probably been in the same room before, but never had an opportunity to sit down and discuss. Really erudite guy, focused, very career focused. You know, he's got these beautiful ideas for the brand now, and I don't think much will change now that Heaven Hill's kind of involved, but it's good to know that he's still going to be at the helm there and making a lot of those choices creatively as well, which I think will be really, really interesting to see. So, Jesse, thanks so much for taking the time to sit down and chat with me. And thanks, everybody, for listening to Show to V with Mike G. No matter which strange Charlie Sheen movie from the 80s you found on Tubi this fine Friday morning, or if you're thinking, Mike put out another record, why? That's so many, so maybe you want to check it out. Please, keep dancing.